It's 7 p.m. We should get started. Please take a roll call.
Commissioner Green is absent. Commissioner Maninder Singh. Okay,
Hi, I'm here.
okay. Commissioner Raj Singh.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Seer.
Here.
Alternate Commissioner Sharma.
Here.
Vice Chairperson Pfister is absent. Chairperson Nayar.
Present. Let's stand for Pledge of Allegiance. Are there any public comments?
I will read the statement regarding public comments. Persons wishing to address the Parks and Recreation Commission during the public comment portion of the agenda may complete the public comment form, which is located on the table at the back of the boardroom. No action or discussion shall be taken on any item raised during public comment, except that commissioners or staff members may briefly respond to statements or questions. If a member of the public wishes to comment on an agenda item, public comment form should be submitted prior to the time the item is announced. Completion of the form is voluntary. Persons that do not fill out the form but still wish to speak will be allowed to do so. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes. Please turn off all electronic devices. Please, no personal attacks.
And no public comments? Okay, moving to item 4, approval of minutes. Are there any comments or changes to the minutes? If there are no changes to the minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on October 18th, 2023?
I move to approve the minutes from the October meeting.
I can second.
Okay, so Commissioner Raj Singh moves to approve the minutes, and Commissioner Seer seconds. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Minutes approved. Policy and action item, item 5A. Approve the calendar of special events for January to June 2024 and July 2024 to June 2025, and recommend to Board of Directors for approval.
Okay, I have a presentation.
Uh,
Okay, so staff is recommending that the commission approve the calendar of special events for the remainder of this fiscal year through June 2024 and next fiscal year through June 2025. And then after you've approved it, then we're going to recommend it to the board for their approval. So just a little background, in 2010, the board adopted the annual events calendar. The attached calendar reflects the proposed events through 2025. The board is presented with this calendar every January, and all of the events are through June 2024 have already been adopted in this year's budget, and all of the proposed through June 25 will be brought to the board during the budget. And just another little background, staff is creating a sponsorship program in 2024 to offset the additional special events expenses. So we did a Music in the Park survey. It was out in the community for about 3 weeks. Some of the feedback we've got, and in your packet, you'll see the actual survey results themselves. But to summarize it, we put it out on social media, website. We did an email blast to our current database, and anyone that's on our email blast list that chooses to receive any notifications from the department. From the results, we got an overwhelmingly 94% enjoyed our performances. Nearly half of them surveyed purchase retail items, 94% purchase food items. So obviously everyone's coming to the park to play and also to eat. We asked them all kinds of different kinds of genre of music. The most popular in the order were pop, rock, and 70s, 80s, and 90s music. Most of the respondents were between 41 and 55 and came in groups of 3 to 5. So the survey results tell me that they're probably coming with their families, or they're coming with their neighbors, but it's usually more than just 2 people that are coming. They're coming with large groups. So staff did a little Music in the Park comparisons just to local cities and other similar cities that have similar demographics. So right now, our Music in the Parks are 5 3-hour concerts. 2 of the 5 were 3 or more hours, and that included our Juneteenth and our end of the year celebration. We typically have our events from 5 to 8 or 6 to 9. This year, we had them at 2 different times. The majority of our attendees, though, didn't arrive until 6 o'clock or later. The valley heat is sometimes excessive at 5 o'clock. So for the months of July and August, we moved the Music in the Park to start at 6 o'clock. Historically, it's always been 5 to 8. So that's just a little background. What staff are proposing is that we host it from 6 to 8. It's similar to neighboring cities, which average about 2.5 hours. Anything after 5 will avoid the heat. And like you said, or like I said, most people do arrive after 6 o'clock. And we want to try and keep with a consistent time, because what we found is for our events that we had from 6 to 8, people showed up and they thought it started at 5 or at 5. It was very confusing. We also want to add time to our 2 additional Music in the Parks, which we're going to propose call celebrations, which includes our Juneteenth, which is a national holiday. And then we thought we would end the season with some sort of multicultural kind of music in the park, where the music would be specifically cultural, related to the community that we have in Mountain House. So we have some new events that we would like to propose. Again, calling 2 of the Music in the Parks, Music in the Park Celebrates ... With the success and the recognition that we got from our Juneteenth, we had, if you can see from the photo, we had the sheriff here, we had our supervisors here, we had former Representative McNerney was here. So we had a lot of recognition come to that event. It was very popular. It was our most attended Music in the Park this summer. And then we would like to end the season again, like I said, with a multicultural kind of festival. So we wanted to add a couple extra hours to those 2 events. And with the celebration, it would include more vendors, more activities, and a larger lineup of entertainment. So other new events that staff are proposing is perhaps a trunk or treat. It's become a very safe and fun alternative to Halloween trick or treating, and it's trending amongst most cities. I follow lots of city parks and recs, and almost all of them had some sort of trunk or treat event. It was hugely popular. We also have been asked if we could add a movies in the park. And so we're proposing maybe during the months of July or June and July to host a movie in the park. And again, most cities have some sort of movie in the park. We definitely have the space, we have the desire. A board member did mention it and he did recommend it. despite the wind, I think we still might be able to have it. There's other ways that we can secure a movie screen, but it definitely is a fun event. So this is the current events calendar that we would like to propose to the board. It always begins with our bike rodeo in the early spring. We have our music in the park, our kite festival, our Independence Day celebration, which is pretty large, includes the parade. And then kind of ending up the summer with a movie in the park, our National Night Out, which was hugely popular, our new celebration, perhaps the trunk or treat event, and then our Light Up Main Street tree lighting and our breakfast with Santa. And that kind of closes out our year. So everything that you see with an asterisk is something that's either new or slightly changed. Are there any questions or comments about that?
Quick question. How's the response for bike rodeo in the past? Is pretty good.
It was pretty good. It was my first bike rodeo in May. We had several hundred children attend. We had the sheriff's department. We had a local bike vendor come and he filled up the tires and did a bike check. We gave out 40 free helmets. So yeah, it was great. It was a really well-attended event.
So which two events you want to add extra time to, Juneteenth and
And the September celebration, yeah.
And that's by just adding more events for that day, adding more.
Yeah, more of a lineup of musicians. Typically, we just have one band that
Okay.
performs, but for an event like that, we might have 2 or 3.
I don't know if I can get into the survey results. I noticed approximately 50% in one of the, or, where you have different music types.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people responded to the cultural, right? So I'm thinking there is enough demand to have at least, like you always do, 1 or 2 of the events have a different cultural music. Is that still planned or not so much?
Well, this year we tried to do it at our September. We just didn't advertise it very well. But most of them have been, most of the bands were your pop, your 70s, 80s, 90s kind of genre. I see from the survey, there were about 11% chose cultural. What we failed to do in our survey is describe what cultural means. It could mean Bollywood, it could be Irish dancing, it could be any kind of cultural music. But we would probably, again, survey the community ourselves to figure out what is the demographic that we want to, highlight the cultural music for.
Right, yeah, it could be Spanish,
Spanish,
or- yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I think like every music festival, there can be rotation, right? Bollywood, then Spanish, then something else in
Mhm.
those 5 series,
Correct. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Something like that, maybe.
Mhm.
Okay. Is it currently not that way, right? But going forward,
No, we don't have anything like that. But what we're proposing is maybe using that September Music in the Park to do something like that.
But not specifically, when we have once a month, not make that cultural also part of that. So in other words, when we have once a month music in the park.
You want to add a cultural component to those?
Yeah, that was my question. Is that possible? If there is enough demand or if there is enough people would be interested in that?
Typically, the music in the parks are just the one band. If we reduce it to 2 hours, that's all you'll have time to get the band up on stage, and they have to do sound checks, about an hour before. There's coordinating, getting them on and off the stage. I think it would be less confusing if it was just one band at each event as opposed to adding different bands to each event.
And Laura, were there any comments that were also part of the survey or just pure?
No, in fact, none of them had any comments.
Nobody
Mm-mm.
provided any comments?
No.
Laura,
I guess
quick
the
question.
trick is to find a band that could do
Yeah,
Spanish and
yeah.
70s or 80s.
I do want to point out that historically, the music in the park has been 3 hours. If we want to add additional hours to the June and September and not affect our budget, we would reduce it to 2. Most cities do have it for 2 hours, but it's really up to you. You guys have been here longer than I have, so you would know what your if your community wants to keep it 3 hours like it's always been. Or do you think the board might want to keep it to 3 hours? So that's one topic I think that you should all consider as well.
So the question I have is the additional cost of having it for 3 hours. Is that because of the band specifically, or is it just the overall?
Yeah,
cost?
there are some fixed costs that won't change, but but the bands would probably charge more if the event was longer. Our staffing would cost more. Our stage and labor for our stage and sound would cost a little bit more. Things like the marketing and the vendors and stuff like that, that wouldn't change any costs. I do want to mention, though, that we are proposing to put together a sponsorship packet. So we will be soliciting more sponsors. So we could offset our budget with sponsorship funds.
Yeah, I think that's what one of my thoughts was, that if you're doing something multicultural, it may actually attract more sponsors
Mhm.
because of the wider appeal of it.
Mhm.
And then just a thought from offsetting the cost from a band perspective, it would be good to actually see if we have indigenous bands within Mountain House or people performance within
Yeah.
Mountain House who could kind of volunteer
Yeah.
or, so that's a thought.
So what we're going to do this year is we're actually going to put out a call to artists. They'll submit. This past year, because I had started so late, we had to really speed it up. I just hired bands that we had in the past. But typically a city would put out a call to artists. We would notify all kinds of musical bands, local, regional. We would get them back and then we would determine who we would be able to showcase.
Yeah, and looking at the other cities also, Tracy has it for 3 hours, Laura 2.5. So that's the average. Seems like 2.5 to 3 or 2.5 hours. So I think 3 hours might be good value for everybody to come out for at least minimum. Like, usually they'll come out if they are there for 3 hours, it gets extended.
Yeah.
So I would propose to make it 3 hours and with local band, open mic or something like that added to the, at the start.
Mhm.
When most of the people are still getting here, we can have open mic for an hour or so.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't add additional cost to band or to a DJ, having a DJ there.
Yeah, we did have a DJ at one of our shows and they played in between, they played during the breaks and it was hugely successful. Everybody got up and danced.
Right, yeah.
I do recommend that we start them all at 6 o'clock as opposed to starting some 5 and the hotter months at 6. I propose we just start at 6 for all of them.
Yeah, otherwise, starting at 5, it's so bright outside and the sun's right in your eyes, so. I
Yeah,
think
and people
6
kind of like it when it's more dark at these
Yeah.
events.
6 PM sounds good. So, so that will be my recommendation, 3 hours and starting at 6 PM.
Okay.
And just to add, I think I'll agree with that, starting at 6, going till 9 would make,
And then couple of series making them 2.5 hours. Like couple of music series like June or September or July or September, making it to 2.5 hours.
No, we'd like to add to.
Not yet.
No, actually, Laura recommended to make them longer than what we've done in the past. Juneteenth and the last Music in the Park in September. So they'll be most likely longer than 3 hours.
Okay.
So this, the time and the cost is, you're considering for the next fiscal year, right? You guys are working on the.
Yeah, so everything's been
budget
approved
season
through
now.
June
Yeah.
24, but we'll propose this along with the budget
Mhm.
come for next budget, which is, we'll be doing that in January. So staff will go ahead and propose a budget, assuming that we won't have any sponsorship funds at that point. And then we'll go and we'll solicit them.
Right, so to
offset it.
the extent there are issues in terms of budget, are you going to have an alternate proposal then?
Well,
Because I
I'll
think
pro-
it's important to have the music in the park, whether it's 2 or 3 is
Mhm.
secondary, right? So if there is an issue, you probably should have an alternate.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
yeah, the alternate will be all the sponsorships. We also have vendor fees that offset the costs, so we'll probably solicit a little bit more vendors. That helps to solicit it. We do go out to bid for the staging and for the sound, so we will always try and find the best price for that as well.
And then one other question I have is to the extent there is a vote for us to become incorporated, and that succeeds, does that change anything in terms of the budget?
No.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we want to keep the music in the park to 3 hours. We want to start them all at 6. We'll add a couple extra hours to the June and September. June will be Juneteenth. September will be multicultural. And then what are your thoughts on the 2 new events that we'd like to propose?
Which are September 16 and
No,
or
which one?
trunk or treat.
The trunk or treat in October. And the movies in the park. There are 2 of them.
The music in the park is September 16th.
I'm sorry, movies in the park.
Movies in the park.
Yeah, one for June and one for July. And the cost of those are pretty, it's not pretty significant. It might be about $1,200 to rent the movie from Swank. Maybe some staff time. There's not a lot of cost.
So can you give a little idea of how does trunk or treat works? I'm so sorry, I'm not familiar with that. Tell me
Yeah,
more of the event.
it's a safe and fun alternative to trick or treating, although I'm sure a lot of kids still go trick or treating. But essentially, we would give space to families or organizations. They would have a parking space, they would open up their trunk and they would hand out candy that way. And typically, the organizations and the families overly decorate. Let's see if I can't go back. They overly decorate their trunk to make it look fun. It has a different theme. So I chose a couple of these really bright photos. And then kids just walk around and they hand out candy. So this past October, our safety, rank security and our safety officers, they handed out bags here in the lobby with candy, and they had some safety materials in there. So I thought, well, most of the cities kind of incorporate their trunk or treats with their police departments. So it's a good opportunity for the police to be out there and have it be a safe event. They hand out their materials, gets kids off the street.
So this would be in the town hall parking lot?
Town hall parking lot.
Mhm.
The only really additional cost would be just for the staff
Mhm.
and maybe some marketing. It would be very minimal, but people would pay for their parking space, and it would be a really nominal fee.
So any organization or anyone who wants to participate in this event, they have to pay
Mhm.
for a parking spot.
Yep.
And this is an afternoon event?
Yeah, I propose 12 to 2, maybe midday. I know that there's lots of maybe community, other events that are going on in the community at nighttime on the Saturday before Halloween.
No, I think it's a great idea.
Will there be a limitation, right, Laura, in terms of how many people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. We would look at the parking lot to see how many could safely fit in there and go from there.
Will there be any screening for those who are bringing in,
We would have some criteria.
right?
Yeah,
Because kids involved there and all
exactly.
that,
Exactly.
safety issue.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay.
And again, I would probably want to partner with our security or
Yeah,
our, our sheriff's departments, our code enforcement, they'll be out there as well.
Would you like to add any other components to it as best dressed or best decorated car?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Uh, I was asking if you would like to add another component to it, best dressed kid.
Oh,
And-
yeah, absolutely. There's all
or-
kinds of fun things you
yeah.
can do with Halloween, all kinds of fun things.
Or the best decorated car.
Yeah, bragging rights for that kind of stuff. That would be fun.
We do like best costume.
Yeah. Best costume, best car. Yeah, best theme. We could even have a theme.
Yeah.
We could have our own theme, or we could let them all choose their own, but there would definitely be an application process. Assuming that some groups would not be invited.
I think it's a good idea.
Yes, I agree.
No food vendors, right? At this event?
No,
Okay.
lots of candy.
Question regarding the movies in the park. What time proposing?
7 o'clock. It'll probably, for June, 7:30, closer to.
Yeah, later
actually,
is
it might be
better.
actually later. It might be at 8 o'clock start time. For July, it would probably be even later, 8:30, 8:45.
Families can bring their like snacks, dinner or whatever.
Yep.
Sit on the grass, watch it like that.
The CSD would probably give out popcorn. So,
And we will also have a security on that time, right? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. And it being at Central Park, if the movie were to go past 10, it's a lot. It's fine. We could still have lots of people out there. We would have a light tower out there also. At the end of the movie, we'd put the light on.
Will there be vendors for the movie night, food vendors or anything?
No, people would just like music in the park, they would just bring their own chairs and blankets.
And who would select the movie for movie nights? Would that be by a vote, community vote, or just board members are selecting the movie to be played?
We could leave that up to you. It doesn't have to be board approved. Staff usually do that, but if you'd like to look at it, it's fine. Every year they come out with a catalog of all the movies that are available. Typically, Disney does not like you to show movies in the month of June because they usually like to have their own movie. But there's usually maybe a hot movie that may have come out in the springtime or this past Christmas that they want to really promote. So I could maybe the marketing would probably want to go out about April after spring break. So I could bring it to the board, maybe the first in February or March. I could give you a list of possible movies and you could pick them.
And Laura, have you done any survey on this movie night, and is there any response from community if they're interested in coming out for movie night?
Yeah, they're hugely popular. Every city I've been in has had them, hundreds and hundreds of people come to those.
Okay.
So I was thinking, if we kind of have a list of, and we can short list and then maybe, narrow it down to 2 or 3, or maybe 4, whatever number it is, and then have a poll within the community to see, which is the most popular one.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking from a perspective that when you vote for a, popularity contest, then people are vested in actually then coming out for it as well.
Yeah, and we can reveal it. We can do some sort of reveal, like you chose ... And then the next day we'll put it up and we'll promote it that way.
I second that idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. I think.
One question I have, if we're thinking about 3 hours music in the park, will there be an issue in terms of noise level? Because,
Well, Noise has become a recent topic of discussion.
Exactly.
Even at Central Park, it's become a topic. There are houses being built across the street.
Right.
Eventually the noise. So I know that the staff will be working on a noise ordinance in the near future. Right now, you can stay in a park until 10 o'clock. And then the event has to be over. So typically our music at the parks, we usually end around 9 o'clock. By the time everyone gets out about 10, it's completely gone and quiet. So if we were to have a movie, we probably just wouldn't project it that loud past 10 o'clock. We'd have to stay within the noise ordinance. It may be a little inconvenient, but this is by far the best park to have anything like that. We could even position the speakers, maybe we would have to move the screen to maybe the ballpark area so that the sound is projected east towards Safeway. You know, we could be strategic about that.
I think so. I think, all in agreement to add those two, events, two new events.
Okay, so 3 hours music in the park, start at 6. Add 2 additional hours to June and September. Add the movies, 2 movies in the park. Add a trunk or treat.
But
Is that
June, sorry, June and September, they are already longer celebration music in the park, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Why would we add more hours?
I'm just saying that if we want to make it official, this past year, we added a couple extra hours after the board had already approved it to be a 5 to 8 event. We added extra hours. So I just want to make sure we memorialize it here with you. We're adding extra hours to Juneteenth and the cultural celebration.
And that will include music only or other stuff also?
It's a larger lineup of musicians, dancers, artists, things like that, different types of activities.
Last year was like 5 to 8.
But we added a couple extra hours to Juneteenth. And like I said, it was hugely successful. I would use that as a model going forward. We had dance, poetry, spoken word, music. We had a plethora of events.
And we can have cultural different music also.
Exactly.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
So in your packet, I believe it says 2 to 8.
Yeah, 2 to 8, it says already.
But we might want to make it 3 to 9. Because we want to move our music in the park to 6 to 9. So we want to add a couple extra hours. And then the movies in the park. Maybe we'll advertise at sunset. We'll just have the movie start at sunset. Approximately 8:30.
And we're planning 2 movies.
2 movies, one in June and one in July.
I was just thinking about that. Maybe just in terms of quick comment is that we increase one movie and decrease one music. Will that be?
One movie and one,
No, we add one more movie night
in the summertime?
and cut down one music in the park, or you want to keep 5?
I think historically it's been every month between May and September. I would recommend just keeping it that
Keeping it.
way. I wouldn't recommend having a movie in August just because school's back
School,
in and
yep.
people try and
Yeah.
squeeze in one less vacation.
My only concern is the 3 hours music, 6 to 9. I think will be too long. Maybe just 2.5 hours.
Most cities are about 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Most people show up at 6
Yeah.
and stay for 6 to 8. However, in Mountain House, they've always had it from 5 to 8 or 6 to 9. So I'm going to leave that up to your recommendation if you think the community would want a 3-hour concert. And again, we supplement when they go on their breaks. 20, 30 minutes. We supplement that with a DJ. So there's still some music and entertainment involved.
And then we also agreed to have some local talent, also.
Yeah,
for-
so when we put
so-
out that call, we'll get some local.
Yeah, so we'll
talent.
be able to fill 3 hours, most
Mhm.
likely. Yeah.
But remember, it'll only be one band for the entire show. It wouldn't be more than one.
Okay, understood. Yeah. Unless someone wants to do it for free.
That would be great.
Alright.
Then yes, we would try and get them in there somehow.
So you want to have music plus some talent in 3 hours?
Yeah, I think that'd be a good way of filling up all 3 hours and, promoting some local
So-
bands.
So the sound is provided by CSD, right?
Yes,
The stage and sound, right?
we don't, well, we've funded. We have a contract.
We fund it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So presumably, if there is local talent, they could then during breaks or before or after perform in between with the main band, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, I like that idea a little bit more. I think it's doable, right?
Okay.
We are
So
funding-
instead of a DJ, maybe we have a local talent
Right,
come up there
yeah.
and perform.
And and local talent can be through applying it, right? Invitational, those who apply,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. we would have
Auditions
some
and all that.
criteria. We'd ask for some, maybe a YouTube video or any kind of performance that they could give us on a CD or online.
Yeah, it'll be someone who's able to perform for a crowd.
Mhm.
Yeah. So semi-professional band.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, does any commissioner have any other questions? Or any clarification questions?
Yeah, do we use the same band every time or is it different?
They're different.
They're different?
Yeah.
Okay.
This year, though, we used some previous bands just because when I had started, no bands had been booked yet. So we just quickly booked whoever we could get right away. And they were some of the bands that were here last year. But we would like to get new bands, new, fresh bands, new
Yeah,
music.
so
new
everybody
talent.
get a chance.
Yeah.
And when they will have different cultural band, there'll be the two bands then that day? So let's say Bollywood,
Probably close to 3, if not
Okay.
4. Yeah. there would
not
be a-
the same band playing every.
Right, no,
Oh, okay.
it would be different kinds of cultures.
Got it.
So Commissioner Sharma, most likely there'll be one band that will be paid by us, and then the rest will be just voluntary bands
That
for
would be
that one
great.
particular day, one particular music in the park. All right, any other questions? Any clarification questions? Are there any public comments? Okay, is there a motion to approve the calendar of events through 2025 and recommend to Board of Directors?
I move that the commission approve the calendar as proposed.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, Commissioner Raj Singh moves to approve the calendar of events through June 2025. To recommend to the boards, and Commissioner Moninder seconds it. Um, So Does it need to be open for discussion again?
You should open it up for discussion, and if there isn't, then just keep moving on.
I'll open up the floor to discussion. Okay, thank you. I think we've discussed it a lot, so we'll take a vote. Commissioner Sharma, how do you,
Yes, I approve.
Commissioner Mender Singh,
Yeah, I approved.
Commissioner Sia,
I approve.
Commissioner Raj Singh?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes with a vote of 5 to approve the calendar of special events through June 2025 and recommend to Board of Directors for approval. Moving to discussion item 5B, create a mission statement for the Parks and Recreation Commission.
All right, so staff is recommending that the commission create a mission statement to establish a foundation in order for you to create your goals and objectives. So at our last meeting, we talked about creating your goals and objectives just for your first year, just through June 2024. Staff posed several questions as a means to begin that discussion. And Chairperson Nair suggested to create a mission statement first that summarizes your overall purpose of the commission. So I do want to reiterate, even though this is an action item, and you're not expected to create your mission statement tonight. So this is also, this is probably more of a discussion item. However, if you feel that you've created a mission statement tonight, you can open it up for a vote and approval. But just a reminder, a basic mission statement should be one central statement that brings everything together. You should consider the following: define who your organization serves, clarify what the organization does. And by organization, it means you as the body of the commission. Who is your key market? Focus your statement on values and inspiration. Keep it short and concise. Open to reflect long-term goals. Don't be too specific. Just to show you an example, the CSD mission, I've highlighted some of the key items in our mission statement: to provide responsive service to a growing community, it exceeds expectations, and it has a fair value. So it's got 4 key components in our CSD mission statement. Other mission statements I thought I would recommend, just looking at, hopefully this will kind of give you some inspiration. The Cosumnes CSD is very highly respected in the Parks and Recreation world. So theirs is, again, I highlighted, they provide exceptional parks and recreation, which is the how. Parks and Recreation is the what, and the diverse Elk Grove community is for the whom. So your statement, although short and concise, it really should address how you're serving, who you're serving, what you're serving. Again, just some inspiration. Now, granted, these companies have millions of dollars in advertising and they create mission statements all the time. But just to give you some inspiration, JetBlue's is to inspire humanity, both air and in the ground. So you kind of know right off the bat is probably something to do with the aviation. Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. Immediately you think about the sustainable energy when you think of Tesla. LinkedIn, connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. Again, you're talking about professionals being successful. So those are just some examples of what very successful companies use for their mission statement. So staff is recommending that you begin by sharing your ideas with each other, ideas for our mission statement. You may comment on the statements, you may make edits on any of the statements. Once a statement has been created, the commission should vote to approve it. But if the commission does not create it or vote for a mission statement tonight, you can always table it to a further meeting, to another meeting. So right now, I'd just kind of like to open it up to our chairperson to maybe start the discussion.
So, are there any ideas anyone has for the mission statement, or has anyone looked at it?
I just came up with one. So I'll share that. Bring joy to the residents of Mountain House through exceptional events and accessible facilities.
I was thinking, can we start by thinking about values first, right? Which we want to address and what we want to achieve. So maybe we identify some values first.
I think the what and the who is pretty clear. I mean, sorry, the who and the from is pretty clear.
Mhm.
But in terms of the what, I would like to add a couple of things. I think joyful is a nice addition. Enjoyable, I was going to suggest, is we should consider health and wellness. I think mindfulness. Those are the few words that come to my mind. Yeah.
Okay, should we take this exercise and come up with our ideas, and then we can have discussion on these mission statements next time?
I would propose an action item to for each of us to come back with a full statement. And then we could vote on a combination of some kind, or maybe send our ideas to a director. And then they could propose a couple options for us, maybe.
I think if we can discuss like what part first and whom part, then start building the blocks and then putting together in the end. But first, what and whom, we can start with that. And we can start with what around the table here, discussing ideas. And so, for example, in under what could be like enhance the quality of lives or promote healthy lifestyle, or could be something like promoting the healthy lifestyle through sustainable enrichment program. I think the what part is important first.
And keep in mind too, that your role as commissioners is to recommend policy on facilities, is to recommend different types of programs, to address programs and issues for all the different communities, for different age groups, for different abilities, for different interests. So your role as commissioner is to promote to the community and to get them more involved. So your mission statement kind of is your really general statement that kind of addresses all the things that you as a commission will be working towards.
Yeah, so if if I'm going down the list, define whom the organization serves is the diverse community of Mountain House. And by diversity, I mean in every sense of the word.
Mhm.
It's age groups, it's different demographics, different belief systems. So
Mhm.
it's a nice, diverse
Yeah, what
community.
makes this community different from others or from ones you've been in, that you've all come from other cities? I'm assuming that you've all come here from somewhere else. What makes this community stand out and be different from the ones you've been for before?
Yeah. For me personally, I think is the joy that we find in the diversity that we have.
Mhm.
And what we do is, as you said, we define the policies that enable us to utilize the facilities that we have, the resources that we have
Mhm.
to, in my mind, to bring all sorts of things, but fundamentally bring people together, be joyous. Who the market is the community itself.
Mhm.
And inspirations, I'll let other people chime in. But
Yeah, but your policies will make things fair and equitable.
Right.
Your events will bring community together. The different types of events, not just your standard. Any event that we create here, the purpose would be to bring people together. Is to create programs that aren't just for kids. It addresses all kinds of ages and abilities and interests.
Yeah, so, yeah, no, absolutely. So I totally agree that, I think we should really think about it a little bit more because the mission statement is something that's going to be kind of our guiding principles. And anytime we think of doing something, we have to go back to our mission statement and look at it and see what is really driving us, what is our goal, based on mission statement. So I think we should take some time, think about it, and come back with recommendations.
Would you like to provide me all of your recommendations so that when we come to the meeting, I have 7 distinct statements that you all can review or do you want to
I-
bring your statements to the meeting?
Okay, I would like to add open gym concept in the parks if we can.
Okay,
I have seen other cities, they have some kind of equipment, in the upper park where older people or other group ages can go, even kids can go there and have some exercise, Since we don't have any gym, we only have one, it's very small,
right,
maybe something like that.
okay.
Do you think, would this be where we can make a subcommittee of a couple of people who want to work on this mission statement?
A subcommittee can be 2 of you.
Yeah. People who,
I can opt for it.
I can volunteer for that.
I believe it has
If
to be a
they-
committee of active members, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
oh,
Mhm.
okay, so,
So if you form a subcommittee, which I think is a good idea,
Mhm.
and then get 4 committee members, including the alternatives, send in suggestions, and then they can whittle down to what they feel and bring it back to the next meeting.
Mhm. Assuming our 2 other actives will be back, the alternates will still be able to participate in the discussion, just not in the final vote, just to keep that in mind.
okay, are there any other clarification questions on this topic? Are there any public comments? I'll open the floor for discussion. Okay, so is there a motion to table the final creation approval of mission statement to next regular meeting on December 20th?
And did you want to add a subcommittee to your motion?
y- So so if you have to create a subcommittee, do we need other members to be present here to add them to subcommittee or?
Probably, yes. Unless between the 3 of you actives, you would create a subcommittee.
So anyone else like to?
Or we could just table it.
Yeah,
We could
I
just
can-
table the discussion to next.
I can volunteer.
You want to volunteer for the, okay.
So who all do you have right now, Chair, I volunteered for the subcommittee as well.
Okay, so. Yeah, that's okay. Oh, it has to be 2, I think.
So I would actually recommend that you table it for next time, hopefully when the 2 other permanent members are back, because there is some diversity in that as well, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna, pass for the subcommittee for right now and just table it for the next time, so.
So if I understand, you're gonna, we'll table this till next time, but I'll take in the minutes, or in the staff report, I'll take your current comments that you've had today. We'll bring it back to the next meeting, and then you'll form a subcommittee at the next meeting. Is that how I understand it?
That's correct.
Okay.
And, and by the we can all still share the comments with you, and then maybe we have understanding on a mission statement about next meeting.
Okay,
That's
and if you do share, just keep in mind not to email to any of your other commissioners, just email directly to me.
So if the subcommittee is made next time, then mission statement may not be ready until Jan. Is that,
It could
is
be
that
brought
too
back
late?
in December, and they could vote on it in December.
okay.
So is there a motion to table the final creation and approval of mission statement to the next regular meeting on December 20th?
I move the motion.
Is
I-
there,
I second.
okay, Commissioner Seer motions and Commissioner Sharma seconds. Any further discussion? Thank you for the discussion. Well, we'll take a vote. Commissioner Sharma,
Aye.
Commissioner Maninder Singh,
Aye.
Commissioner Seer,
Aye.
Commissioner Raj Singh.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes with a vote of 5 to table the final creation and approval of mission statement to the next regular meeting on December 20th. Moving to item 6A, review and discuss the current park facilities use policy and fields and facilities use and reservation policies.
All right. So this is a discussion item. So staff recommends that the commission review and discuss the current park facilities use policy and fields and facilities use and reservation policy and make suggestions for implementation. So in your packet, well, to go back, staff presented the commission with the current policies that we have right now at their last regular meeting. Staff presented topics to consider, including fair allocation process, priority requirements, group classifications, discounts, insurance requirements, park ordinances, rules and regulations, billing deadlines and process, and the application. Current policies, staff have provided the commission with a red line copy of the current park and field policies. You'll see it in your packet. The red lines indicate anything that's outdated or is conflicting with another park policy, because we have two right now. We have a fields one. We also have a sports park one, or park one and a fields one. Some of the policies that we have right now are conflicting. Some of the policies pertain to special events, tennis or picnic rentals, all of which will have their own respective policies after this meeting. So this meeting, we're just focusing on what I've called athletic fields, which is essentially all of the park spaces that are currently used for sports. So also in your packet, I've included a draft policy. It's a comprehensive draft that includes athletic fields and parks. So what I've done is develop similar policies that are similar to other agencies. I've referenced similar cities. Duplicate, sorry about that. I've conferred with other recreation peers and professionals. I've received education, and this is not just me, it's my staff as well. We've received education and training at local, state, national workshops, conferences and we're part of recreation professional organizations. So the draft that you see is pretty standard amongst most cities. So just to kind of summarize some of the recommendations, I'm sorry. That is it. So this is a large project, and this is a large undertaking. it's a discussion item because it's really meant for you to look at the current policies, if you haven't had a chance already. See some of the discrepancies, see things that you don't think are fair. Compare them with the draft that staff has created that's a little bit more comprehensive. You'll need to look at that draft and see, is it addressing everything that you want to address? Does it have the allocation process that you want? This is an opportunity for you to discuss it amongst yourselves. If there's things in here that you want staff to add. Or we can do it similar to the mission statement where you can have this last opportunity to review these policies on your own time. Bring back your final comments at next month's meeting where we can draft a final draft for you to approve at the January meeting. This is a very huge undertaking. I presented the largest policies to you first before we go into the tennis courts, picnics, indoor facilities. So anyway, I'll open it up for questions. So.
Yeah, I would agree with your second thought there. I think seeing that we are missing some members
Mhm.
today, and this is a huge undertaking. I personally would like some more time to digest and gain maybe perhaps input from others.
And I do have,
We should table the issue, yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I think,
Commissioners Green and Pfister have also commented, and they're not here, but they have provided me with some comments and suggestions as well, so.
Or where is the draft part? So the one crossed are the red,
If you keep going
the draft is,
all the way in the back.
The
All the way
draft
back?
should be your very last
Yeah.
packet after the two red lined.
or the last page.
So the green. So, Laura, so there are actually more than two parts to this. Then there is park facilities, so rental of picnic area. And then there's rental of fields for sporting events.
Hmm.
And that's further subdivided into renting of tennis courts and basketball courts, because even though they might be similar in some ways, but still, there's different dynamics for each sport.
Yeah, not to confuse you, this draft includes basketball and sport courts with the exception of tennis.
Okay.
So it includes basketball, bocce ball, which we have a couple of courts.
So
Yeah, we've got 2 basketball courts and 2 sets of bocce ball courts.
and then every priority sport is listed here. Football, soccer, rugby, cricket, lacrosse.
Yep.
Okay.
We have the space for all of them. Not necessarily, I mean, we don't really have any soccer groups that rent other than a private soccer company that rents for lessons. But we do have the space if we wanted to rent it that way. Cricket is obviously a huge sport that we have here. This new packet anticipates the new sports complex in South Community Park. So our hope is we create this draft. So when that comes online, we won't have to change anything in it. So.
Can you, on the commercial users, can you explain that a little bit? What does that really means?
Yeah, a commercial user is anyone who rents a field who charges a fee, regardless if you're a nonprofit or a for-profit. So if you're offering a lesson or if you have a tournament or if you're part of a league, you accept any kind of fee, you're considered a commercial user. You could, like I said, you could still be a nonprofit. If the nonprofit were to have a free program, then they are not considered commercial.
So that fee is for attendance of that event. So if there is food being served and there's charging for that, would that still constitute as commercial?
No, that would be under concessions.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be something similar. If they had to charge a fee in order to participate,
Yeah, okay.
then that would be commercial.
So the one thing I was trying to figure out is in the existing policy where you have red line stuff, is there a way to see what that's been replaced by? Because it's a very different format. I don't think there's an easy way of.
So everything that's redlined is now in the new draft policy. So the new draft is comprehensive. Yes. Yeah. Fortunately, the term draft doesn't show up on the front page, but it does on every other page, but.
Mhm.
So the intention is that everything that's redlined right now is something that's conflicting or outdated that needs to be updated. And what's been updated is in the new draft.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's been removed. It just means that
Correct.
there is a reason.
So
just
all of
highlighting
these,
it.
all of these right now are currently in existence. The red line is just kind of for a visual for you to see. Fees will be brought back separately. That is a completely separate subject. So the fees will remain as they are until they're changed.
So, are these fees, in, aligned with what other cities charge?
No.
No. So, do we need to look at that as well?
Yep.
Okay,
In
okay.
fact, I have it on our future agenda item.
Okay. Okay, I mean, it says right here, also fees will be presented separately, so,
Mhm.
okay.
Is that fees for, same for non-profit and, the same for all of them? Or
The
it's a different-
fees?
Yeah,
Right now, there is a discount.
on the non-organized, okay.
Yeah.
Non-profit, okay.
Lawrence, just for our education, so how many total groups? So just say commercial is one,
Mhm.
non-commercial, what do you call non-commercial? Individuals?
Yes, in fact, if you look,
If we can go over on that, yeah, category,
Yeah.
non-profit, commercial, non-commercial,
so
those,
if you look on page 8 of the draft,
page 8.
I've created a classification, and it's not that much different than what we have now. It's just defined a little bit better. We have 4 groups. So A is your district, it's your school district, it's the groups that we already have an MOU or an agreement with. Those are typically booked a year to a year and a half in advance. Then group B would be your sanctioned nonprofit groups. And then underneath that, you would sort it by youth nonprofit groups have priority over adult profit groups. Then even under that, we want to make sure that we serve our legacy users first before we serve maybe a new user. That was a topic that came up quite a bit before. If we have a group that's been here for 10 years and they've historically always used the field, they would have priority over a new group who might want to come in and utilize that field. However, as staff, it's always good to try and negotiate. So we don't want to exclude new users. We want to find them maybe an alternative field, an alternative day and time, or we work with the current user group to see if they have flexibility. So after group B, I have group C, which is just your general resident who just wants to use the park because they have a family reunion coming up, or they want to spend a little extra time with their kids on the ball field. They might book it themselves. That doesn't really happen that often, but there is that opportunity. And then the last group would be group D, which is your non-resident commercial users, somebody who might come in from out of the city, who might want to use our field to teach lessons or host a tournament, and they're not a sanctioned Mountain House nonprofit or even a nonprofit group. They might just be some outside group.
Is there a list of all the sanctioned groups in Mountain House? Do you?
Well, we technically don't have one yet. So another component of this would be to create a sanction application. And it just means that you need to provide proof that you're a nonprofit, that your principal address is here in Mountain House, and that you have insurance. That's the simple process to get sanctioned. Once you're sanctioned, then you can start renting a field. So there's a little bit more process involved than just applying and saying that you're,
Right.
Mountain House Kickball Club. You might want to have to prove it because of that, once you prove it, it'll put you in a classification that may give you priority, it may give you discounts.
And so the one comment I'll make is that I do understand kind of prioritizing existing organizations
Mhm,
to protect the programs that they've been running for multiple years.
Mhm.
I mean, but there is one risk that, a existing organization who's been running, let's say, a baseball program for the last 10 years now starts soccer under their program,
mhm.
which is not necessarily new and may not necessarily need the protection, so may prevent others, new organizations on equal basis. They will trump them basically. So
Mhm.
that I feel may be unfair. So protecting a program and not the organization. I don't know how you would actually do the policy for that, but I'm just thinking that aloud. Does that make sense? Basically, let's say that, there's a baseball league who's been operating for 10 years. It makes perfect sense to prioritize them because
Mhm.
it takes a lot of effort, it's multi-year effort to run that. So a new league coming in, preventing the existing league from performing is problematic. But at the same time, an existing organization who's running that league now broadening their scope and preventing others from, because of the prioritization they have, preventing others from running new programs may be problematic as well.
So on page 9, I'm proposing an allocation process where everyone will have an equal opportunity to provide or submit their request for field at the same time. Then staff will go through
Oh.
using that classification and allocation process. So for example, if Group A baseball group has always rented on Mondays, but now they want to rent Tuesdays. But now you got Group B, who's brand new, who wants to rent Tuesday. I would look at Group A and say, well, you're a legacy for Monday, but you're not a legacy for Tuesday. So now I have to look and see, do we want to let Group B in on Tuesday, or do we want to let Group A just start taking over? So that's the point where I would have to,
Okay, so
to kind of
so
balance it out.
You're taking that into my concern.
Yeah.
It's already taken into consideration. So I
yeah.
think
And
that's good.
again, I would also try and be a little flexible with the legacy organization. Say, do you have a little bit more flexibility? Can you do Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays? But having an allocation process where everything is due at the same time, and then it gives staff about a month and a half to work out those negotiations and kinks. We're not at that point quite yet, but we don't want to discourage new groups. Let's just put
Yeah,
that. We want
that's
to,
what I was trying to
encourage
protect.
more. Yes, exactly.
Didn't want a blanket policy which overly prioritizes existing and effectively discourages new programs.
Right, right. And with the new South Park coming on board, we're going to have lots of new groups coming out.
Mhm.
But I mean, we'll see more groups will be coming.
So the other comment that I have is with the nonprofit organization verification form.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of the criteria is, I mean, it's hard to independently evaluate. I mean, it will be like, for example, a nonprofit youth sports organization exclusively serving. So how would, I mean, other than them disclosing what they're doing, how would one know what they're doing outside of that activity?
We would require them to submit their rosters, which,
Yeah.
so right underneath this is the following items would be submitted. The Mountain House, their 501c3 with the principal address being a Mountain House.
Mhm.
And then the rosters so that we could verify. And again, from my experience, usually nonprofit groups, they won't lie. But at least we have the roster to show it in
Mhm.
case, in its public record, in case anybody else wants to see it.
Okay. So, yeah, so this would have to be done on good faith.
Correct.
basis,
Staff
basically.
would still
Yeah.
do the follow-up and double check it,
Yeah.
but yes.
So I get it. So they will make a good faith statement effectively through the
Mhm.
roster and everything. And if,
Correct.
if there is a reason to challenge that or that is, if there's some information contradictory, so we can then at least we can then take action against them.
Correct. Yeah.
Couple of questions. Classification, Nora, so group A, B, C, D,
Mhm.
the preference will be given in that order. That's what think is
Correct.
A, B, C, D, and then next page is about allocation process.
Right.
So you do have non-residents. So let's say someone lives in Tracy or somewhere else, they can rent it.
They can, but only after groups A, B, and C have had priority to rent it first. If it's available, after those three groups have been addressed during the allocation process, they can have whatever's left over. They would just be paying more for it.
So non-residents will have a higher
Mhm.
fees. How early they can, I know we'll go through this paper individually, but how long they can apply before?
So page 9 to 10,
Describe the.
this is what we call short-term field allocation. So after the allocation period is over, after everyone's submitted by December 31st, by February 15, we will have everything already allocated to those groups. At that point, the groups C and D will be able to pick whatever's left over at that point. So they can book out 3 months and non-residents can book out 1 month. So this will allow residents a little bit more time to book the field they want. And then whatever's left over in the month, then any non-resident can come and book it.
And do we have a large group of people who play rugby in Modern House?
That do what?
Play rugby in Modern House?
Play, oh, rugby. No, I put this in here just in case, because again, if, you know,
No,
a few years ago, nobody knew what pickleball was, and now all of a sudden it's a huge sport. So this just kind of leaves it open in case when we have the new South Park rugby group comes. So the idea behind the season sports schedule is that if you have a baseball group who wants to rent during October, that's out of season. So we want to kind of prioritize the group, like soccer, for example, would get priority in October as opposed to a baseball group, because that's not your typical season.
okay, no, my concern was like, for rugby, we gave like 6 months, right? Maybe we can reduce that and give another sports more time. if
Oh,
we-
yeah, absolutely. So after the whole allocation process and the classifications, whatever's left over, we can give it to whomever for whatever sport.
Thank you.
And the other question I have is on cricket. It's a really popular sport in Mountain House. I think there are about 3 or 5 different clubs.
Mhm.
So that allocation could be pretty difficult as well. And then the other is question I have is there any plan to build any cricket fields or pitches that are just dedicated for cricket? Not because it's a kind of sensitive issue because baseball people really don't like baseball fields being used for cricket.
Yeah, the South Community Park is being designed with cricket pitch in it.
Okay. And for the time being till that park is ready, we're gonna continue using the baseball fields or whatever fields are available.
Mhm, mhm. And I believe it's more of the park. The baseball field is just one small section of the cricket
Yeah.
area. So, in here too, it does address like damage to fields and who would be responsible for them.
Right.
So if a cricket group were to use a part of a baseball field and cause the divots, which an example like it happened out at Wickland, then the user group, the cricket group would be responsible for ensuring that the baseball diamond got fixed.
So there are already a lot of damage in Hanson 1 and Hanson 2.
Mhm.
So are we gonna do anything to get that fixed, or are we gonna leave it like that? The basketball,
No,
the baseball?
It should be fixed, and if there's any damage out there, then our parks crew would be taking care of that.
Yeah, it's been like that from last 1 year. I don't think so.
Oh,
It has
really?
been taken care of yet.
Okay, then that's something I'll take offline and I'll discuss it with
Yeah,
our
it's a
parks
Hanson
crews.
1 and Hanson 2.
Okay.
Yeah. They are in pretty bad shape right now.
Okay.
And a lot of the other question, I think we kind of going into a rat hole here, but cricket pitch that's in Central Park.
Mhm.
That was built by, some cricket enthusiasts. But is there a plan to take that over and, because it's just a patch of,
Yeah,
Well,
I
you
know, it's
know,
just a temporary fix.
yeah,
isn't
and
it?
it is pretty dangerous. You really can't play on it.
Yeah,
So,
there are plans to have a temporary field put out here and what we're calling the East Cricket Field. Actually, it's right across the street.
okay,
They've already kind of made plans to have it ready for group. It's just dirt, but we're working with the two groups and creating an MOU with them both to use that dirt field in the meantime until we build the South Park community. Or South
and is this done by one of the cricket groups or organizations, or is it a professional company who's gonna build this out for them?
Down at the South community.
No, the one here
Oh, this
across,
one?
yeah,
Well, nothing's going to be built. We're just preparing that dirt lot
okay,
for people to play on it.
okay.
Then how about the pitch? Like, are we gonna put any concrete on there?
It'll
or-
have to be a portable pitch. We are thinking about putting a storage container out there for the two user groups, and then they can store their own cricket materials and all their supplies in there. So it'd be portable,
Oh, okay, all right.
nothing permanent.
Laura, are there any dedicated soccer fields where you allow soccer programs to be run, whether it's from organization or other,
Uh,
are there dedicated fields?
Our fields that we have right now, our parks are not quite big enough with maybe Cortez might be a good spot to have, but we don't have anybody that's rented our parks for soccer. None of our fields have been burned, as they say, with the lines. None of them have any goals on them. So we don't have any as of yet, as of right now.
So they're a private organization, right? Those who are doing soccer.
Yeah.
Sessions.
Yes, it's not even a game. It's just, they're just lessons for children.
But
Right.
is there a plan to have a soccer fields, couple of soccer field? Because there is a lot of potential here. The reason I'm
Yeah, I think a
saying,
lot of the soccer leagues use the schools right now.
yeah,
So
high
with the
school.
South Community Park coming online, that might have a soccer field.
I believe.
I'm
it
sorry, I
has.
don't have the information for
believe
that
it
right now. It's,
No, the South Park does have.
it will have it, yeah. And lights too, so we'll be able to offer it all day and all night.
But currently, if someone wants to rent, they can do it any, Cordis is the closest location. I mean, is the only
Um,
location.
I'm thinking of Cortez, it's a little bit bigger and it's
Bigger.
more square, it's probably more suitable for soccer than some of our other fields. So a lot of actually, most of our parks were considered pocket parks. I don't know if that they were ever really intended to be sports fields other than Central Park. So as they come online, they'll be more sports related.
Wasn't Cuesta had a soccer field? They had the goalposts and everything over there. In the past, they did at least.
If they are, then I'm not familiar with
It's,
them.
it's the schools.
Oh, that's the
Oh, it is a
school.
school.
So. I
And a
think-
lot of most of our parks are connected to schools, and I
Right.
think that's confusing to the community. And it's also the same name as the school and the park. So it's a little confusing.
Can those be rented also?
From
Even
the
though-
school,
From the school?
Yeah.
Okay, not through park
No.
integration, if it is a school park.
right.
And how about the Lemonsville ground?
The schools,
That's a school?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, what lemons? Schools?
LUSD, so all schools come under Lemonsville School District. So they have their own policy, their own, I mean, similar to what we're looking at here. And their own mechanism of renting those out,
Mhm.
yeah. So,
One, in terms of the different sports activities listed here. One of the other sports that has increased in, different groups playing is volleyball. Recently, we
you're-
had a
you're
huge
right.
volleyball tournament in Mountain House. I think we should consider putting that on the list as well.
Yeah, typically it's an indoor sport, but I know at Cortez, they do have a lot of outdoor volleyball.
I
So
think
yeah,
all of the
I'll
different
definitely,
villages have
yeah.
people that play regularly.
we definitely are missing Especially I think a sand volleyball, we don't have anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true.
So volleyball, I mean, you have basically three modes of playing: indoor,
Mhm.
outdoor on grass. And then the third is basically what typically is beach volleyball, but it's like you have a grass, sand pit.
And typically volleyball is considered a winter sport if it's indoor, but if it's outdoor, we might not
Mhm.
play it, but I'll definitely add volleyball. That's a
Yeah,
good time.
we should make, we would like to make that recommendation because volleyball is pretty huge,
Okay.
sport and there are a lot of tournaments that are conducted, outdoors.
Mhm.
So I think we should add that also as, one of the, is,
Okay,
I
Yeah,
think Commissioner,
agree.
Commissioner Miranda can, recommend what are the, what months it's, usually those tournaments are held. So that we can add that also to the list.
okay. Also, just to note, most of our parks do not have restrooms. In fact, I believe only 2 of them do. So one of the requirements is if your league, or if your sport is there for more than 2 hours at a time, or if it serves a lot of people at one time, you're going to be required to have a portable restroom out there. So that's one of the things that we're going to
So-
require.
I think Codus will work perfectly for volleyball. Well,
I
we also got the.
I think we use it
restroom
now.
over
It's pretty successful out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there, And they also have the restroom over there, so.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I was gonna ask about the restrooms. There obviously is a language change. I think previously or current policy requires you to have, if you're over 150.
150, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm reading the new recommendation, the draft policy. It says you may need to rent. So is this now, it's pushed out to those who are organizing to decide whether they do or do not need? And if they do need, that's obvious that if they do need,
So we
Then-
can, well, that's the semantics. We can change that
Yeah.
to be a little bit more concrete. I think that the new language I put in there is though the 2 hours. So if you're planning on renting Cordes for 10 people, but for 2 to 3 hours, you're going to be required to have some sort of portable, maybe not Cordes, that's not a good example,
Mhm.
but any of the parks that don't have a restroom, if you're going to be out there for an extended period of time.
Mhm.
So if we take out the word may, we'll say you will be required to.
I mean, in my personal opinion, 2 hours is too short a window. I mean, considering that most events, the residents are local, and one of the best parts of Mountain House is that it doesn't matter which park you're at, you're a stone throw away from your home, and typically people can go back to their home.
Mhm.
I do see for larger and longer events, the need to have porta potties. I think, in my personal opinion, I think 2 hours is too short a time to require it.
So perhaps 3 hours?
Yeah, that's my opinion. Because I'm just looking at it from a
I-
perspective that those who organize these events, I mean, it is a big,
Yeah.
big lift to go from not requiring to requiring, because then you need the encroachment permits, the
Mhm.
cost of having them out here, the cost of, so it's a big lift.
Yeah, and
Uh,
realistically, if your event's more than 3 hours, you're probably going to have more than 150 people anyway, so you're
Correct.
going to be required
Yeah.
either way.
But I would not make them exclusive, to each other. I would add them 3 hours and or 150 people.
And or,
That would then mean that if you have a 2 hour or 1 hour event with 150 people, you will require it?
Yeah.
Okay.
that's actually the policy now. 150 people regardless of how long it is, you have to have a portable.
Yeah.
So the one feedback I will give you is that the way people work around it is they don't reserve. So you know, if they have an event of 150 people, if we make it overly cumbersome to do the reservation and pay, then they will work around and say, well, you know, because it's a lot of cost, additional cost to have that.
I can say that the user groups right now that rent it for long periods of time and serve a lot of
Yeah.
youth primarily do all rent
Yeah,
portables.
so I definitely agree that if it's over 150 and 3 hours and above, then definitely they should be the requirement.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, I think if it's less than 3 hours, then, you know, typically people are gonna go back home. I mean, you're not gonna need to use it, you know, people
So
living.
again,
close-
that's a city or district policy right now.
Mhm. Yeah, I do
Okay.
know. Yeah.
I mean, if, I see both ways. If there's an event going on, people typically don't want to leave and go home because parking and all of that is a big hassle. So, so if the porta potties are available, they get utilized. Otherwise, people find other means also.
Yeah, I agree with Vishal. It should be, even if they rent it for 1 hour, they should have the restroom. Because in 150 people, definitely 20 or more people gonna use a restroom in an hour, right?
Yeah, I think right now the only policy that we can include is the number of hours. So if you have 150 people or more, you have to have a portable pot,
Yeah,
you know, regardless
how
if
it
it's
should be.
a half hour or 10 hours.
yeah.
But if you have a small group under 150 and you're there for 2 hours, you won't be required. But in our new policy, we're saying if you're going to be there for more than 3 hours, even if you only have 20 people, you will be required to have a portable toilet.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So Laura, page number 14, I have a question on that. Fields,
Yeah, again, this is designed more for the future because I believe our South Community Park might have synthetic fields and lighting. But these are all kind of what we consider standard fields that we have.
the one has cross, right? So skin ball field, that has lightings,
None of our fields have any lighting.
none of them, right?
Mm-mm.
So what are the skin ball field? Just,
A skin ball field is where there's dirt,
okay,
like the clay.
okay.
So there is one park. Cuesta. It's turf only. It's just grass. There's no skinned infield. It's just grass with the 3 bases. Or 4.
So I see like for soccer, there is no cross there. There's nothing dedicated.
Mm-mm.
Can there be, can be something dedicated for soccer? 'Cause it's very popular sport.
The South Community Park.
And when will that be ready?
That will be it will be a bit of time before that. They're still having community meetings on that subject and they're still designing it.
Until then what will be the backup plan?
Right now, we have fields that are big enough to have a soccer program, but probably not the soccer program that a league would want to use. So that's why they're going to the school district for those programs.
Can there be lights installed in some of the parks?
I don't believe so because all of the parks we have now are all neighborhood pocket parks. So I don't believe that they're going to be allowed.
So only Central Park right now has it, right?
Central Park, it doesn't even have lights right now. And I don't know that it's planned to have lights. That's definitely something that I should ask about. Our new South Community Park is being designed specifically to have evening play, multiple sports. They will definitely have lights.
So the only lights we have right now are in Central Park for the basketball courts.
That's the only,
And
that's the
the
only
tennis
ones.
courts, yeah.
I think as we are growing, right, Umar,
Mhm.
if we have more lights, we can have more leaks actually.
Mhm.
And it's very convenient for residents.
So I think that's the way, as Laura was saying, that the South Central Park
Yeah.
is designed to have lights
Mhm.
For the cricket field and for the soccer field and for the basketball courts.
Right.
And soccer too, right?
Yeah, so
We have like, what happened is middle school has started soccer now. Before, 2 years ago, they didn't have soccer.
Oh,
High schoolers are looking for always opportunities. They go to Tracy or Manteca, play soccer.
yeah.
So I think we have a huge potential here and revenue too
Oh,
for the
absolutely.
city. And we get the lights too.
Mhm.
I was thinking Commissioner Vishal, that we go over this between now and the next meeting. We read through it, make our points, right?
Yes.
And then by the next time we can have points discussed.
Mhm. Yeah, and take a look at the cancellation policy.
Yeah.
The payment plan is what we're suggesting for long-term rentals. There's a lot of processes in here, staff processes that we would like you to take a look at too.
Is there any change in fees, Laura? Fees
We're not going to change the fees yet.
will remain same
Yeah,
for now.
that will definitely be on a future agenda.
Um, so park facilities use policy,
Mhm.
that's still gonna stay separate from the park facilities use policy is still gonna stay separate from the athletic rental user policies.
No, the intention is that the two policies that you see there with the red lines
Yep.
are combined and updated in this new draft.
Okay, so this, are you gonna add to this draft, some of the
If the
picnic area?
commission has any comments or suggestions, then we can add it to the draft. My suggestion would be to go through the draft with a fine tooth comb and see, is it everything that you want it to be? Does it have the allocation process that you agree with? Does it have the groups, identifying the groups the way you'd like it? Does it have a cancellation policy that's fair?
But Laura, why I'm confused because I don't see anything about, rental of fountain picnic area in the draft.
So picnics, tennis courts,
Yeah,
indoor facilities, those are all separate. Those are completely separate. Those will be new policies in a new draft.
okay.
Picnics and what you said, tennis and
Picnic, tennis, indoor facilities,
like
like this hall. for
this
example.
hall or
Uh,
library
Yep. Those will each have their own separate
policies.
policies.
And they are already revised.
They're what?
They are revised already, or they will also be in future agenda.
A future agenda. We can include them all in one.
Okay.
They won't be as comprehensive as this one. They'll
Okay.
be much more simple. I just wanted to get this one out of the way because it was the
Okay, so
most
picnic,
comprehensive.
tennis and indoor not included here.
Yeah,
So there'll be three of those.
yeah. Catherine, can you put up the PowerPoint again? I just want to make sure that I got it correct for you. Actually, could you put up the future agenda? one?
There it is in the end.
There we go. Shake up the batteries. Sometimes it's like it needs to warm up. There we go. I'm not jumping ahead. I'm just showing you an example of the policy. So we've got tennis court policies, these athletic fields, park and picnic. I don't want to confuse you. It's primarily picnic, indoor facilities, and a special event policy. Those are going to be separate from this. So this athletic field is a combination of ball fields, basketball courts. Yeah, that's it. These two policies here that we have already. One is basketball courts and ball fields, one is parks. Some of them are the same, some of them are different. Some of the policy conflict, some are the same. It's just a little confusing.
I think we should make a tennis court and pickleball courts also, just add pickleball in there as well.
Okay.
Because there might be a time we might have pickleball,
Mhm.
such a popular sport. And so we can make the policies
Okay.
similar.
So do I understand that you are all going to be reviewing these? Bringing back your comments to our next meeting? The comments will then be incorporated into a final draft, which will be presented to you again at a future meeting. Is that correct?
Or we can email you as well as we are going through the draft.
Okay,
This will be discussed next meeting, right? The items for discussion,
Mhm,
okay.
mhm.
The changes or anything.
Right.
Okay.
Any,
Are we on future agenda item now? Or
so. Yeah. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot for all the discussion. It was really great. And thank you for the cooperation. We'll review the draft at our next meeting. And moving to item 6B, future agenda items.
Yeah, so I've got it up here for you. So I don't want us to forget our goals and objectives. So we did present that last meeting. We kind of skipped over it, hoping to have a mission statement that will help guide you in creating goals and objectives, but we do need to bring that back. So once we have a clear mission statement, then we'll develop probably just two or three specific goals that you want to accomplish now through June. Looks like we're making some headway on the field policies. And perhaps when we get the tennis court policies and the new pricing policy, that can be something that we can put on your goals and objectives. So we'll bring that one back. Rental policies are the big one right now. We're kind of in a down season. It's typically slow between November and March. So this is a good time for us to draft new field policies. But as of late, I've gotten quite a bit of community comment on the tennis court policies for the last 6 months. So what I'll be doing is at our next meeting, I'll compiling all of the community feedback we've got on the tennis court policy. I'll redline the current policy and I'll bring back a draft policy. And one of the biggest comments is that the courts are overused by rental groups. And the community is not having an opportunity to rent the courts. So we may have to consider a more fair and equitable way to rent our courts and to have them open to the public and devise a better way that the public can rent them as well. So just giving you a heads up on that one. And then pricing policy and guidelines. So the Parks and Recreation field has pricing policy guidelines in most cities. It kind of prioritizes who we want to, what kinds of groups we want to subsidize. So if it's more of a community benefit, like music in the park, it's a free event. But if it's a personal benefit, where you are learning a specific, like tennis lessons, for example, if you are learning something specific for yourself, then that program should be probably a little bit more cost recovery, close to 100% cost recovery. Whereas a community event, it's completely free. There's no cost recovery for that. So staff will be presenting you with a pricing policy. And once you approve that, then we'll go back and we'll look at our existing fees that we charge for vendors, which we charge for renters, which we charge for classes. And then I'll identify what part of the pricing policy those fees refer to. And then you all will approve it. And then at that point, once you approve it, I will take it to the board. For example, we charge vendors $25 to participate in our special events, but most cities charge $100 to $300. So also it's costing us a lot to manage the vendors. We're taking an application, we're communicating with them. We submit them to the county and that costs money. So we're grossly undercharging for those types of things. So that's an example of something that we'll bring back to you at a future time. But I do want to let you know that for our December meeting, the first item on the agenda will be the tennis court policies. We will go over these draft policies again, and we will go over a mission statement, but the big topic will be tennis courts. And then if there's any other items that you want to mention, now would be a good time to recommend them.
Anyone wants anything else added to the agenda for next?
Thank you. I have one suggestion that we were discussing last time, Laura, about including the community feedback, like a town hall.
Oh, yeah.
When are we planning? Because I think my question is for 2024-25 programs,
Mhm.
we should have some feedback from the community. 23-24, I understand that's
Mhm.
up to June
Okay.
separate, but 24-25, is it possible to get feedback from the community through survey or town hall? I think town hall or maybe survey.
Yeah, the open town hall worked pretty well. Right now, I believe that we have a survey that's up there right now. And as soon as that one's over, we'll put up a community type of program survey. You just need to tell me what kind of survey you want. What's the data that you want us to collect?
Yeah, so like what new program community wants to see, for example, based on what they're seeing, what are the new program they want to see? Any age group which not currently
So
catered.
more of like a general kind of survey?
So like, yeah, so there are some programs, but people might come up with some ideas, feedback. And I think because the feedback taken a couple of years ago, maybe,
Mhm.
or I know Steve mentioned in a couple of the board meeting that there was some feedback taken, but they were like 1-2 years old.
Mm.
So what new program they want to see, whether any age group related or whatever, something from the community will be helpful. And we bring that into discussion here and then make changes.
Okay.
Something on that line.
So is that, so open town hall is what you
Open
recommend?
town hall, yeah, where we invite the community and they come and give suggestion,
So
or they write.
will it be different than the comment section we have, or in the start of the meeting?
Comment section in the beginning of this.
Yeah,
Are you saying a live open town hall? Or are you talking about the online survey that we call open town hall?
So open town hall means we invite people, special meeting here, and community, people come and give their feedback.
Are you proposing a special meeting for that? I think,
I'm just saying is, so one is that, the other option is we send survey, which has all the questions,
Yeah.
and they put that.
so I think Laura said that she's gonna, once the survey is taken down, she'll put a new one up for the park and rec.
an online digital survey.
Can we look at that and some of the questions?
Yeah.
That will be very helpful.
Okay.
But other than that, we have a section, like, at the start, we have public comments. So I think we should just encourage residents to come during that time, either online or in person, to make comments.
No, that's totally fine. But since a lot of people moved in Mountain House, so I'm just saying is when we advertise, we send the survey online, we post the survey, people will respond at least 1,000 people, 2,000 people, which will be a lot better than one person coming here and giving feedback.
Yeah, no, agreed.
I think you might get more public comment when there's a particular item on the agenda that really sparks interest.
Yeah.
You might get a lot of tennis players come in when we talk about the tennis court policy. So doing an online survey or a poll for programming might reach a bigger audience. They might be more inclined to give the comments on a survey as opposed to coming to a meeting, perhaps. But we do have our large holiday event coming up, and we will have a city booth or a district booth. So we can probably get some surveys out there if they stop by. Maybe we can devise some way that they could do a survey.
Yeah, so in the past, Laura, so there have been some surveys posted on the website,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's a good way to start getting the feedback. It has like a 1 month of window to get all the
Right.
feedback,
Right.
and then they close. That is one. And also in the events, like that's a good idea too. In events too, also getting the feedback.
Mhm.
Both of them together will form some kind of feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, just if you're soliciting feedback, we need to be very crisp in exactly what it can't be open-ended. It needs to be, you need to have an idea of what you're soliciting back from them. The one thing that I do have in mind is to get feedback on what the pain points are when people do existing reservations, what policies do they think need improvement? The pricing structure, whether, people are overall happy. So those to me would be, the low hanging fruit, and because those who are actually using the facilities are renting. And I guess you
Mhm.
have that information as, those who have done rentals, you have the email addresses.
Yep.
At a minimum, I would say to solicit that feedback to say, how are they finding the process? What is their
Mhm.
experience like? How it can be improved?
Yeah, I think keeping surveys to under 5, 10
Yeah,
questions is
Exactly.
and really specific. And then, like you said, we would email a reservation type survey to our past renters.
Yeah.
And we would have a database of,
Yeah.
5,000 people or whatnot. Okay.
So when do you think we can have maybe like the commission can chime in on the questions they can include in the survey?
If that's what the commission wants to do, we can do it that way.
That way we can include all kind of questions like Umar suggested, some of those, program, fees. I think that will be comprehensive, and it will help in restructuring the 24-25 or future
Mhm.
program. The community is growing, 28,000 now versus 5 years ago will be around 20. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
So a lot of new people came, and I think it'll be good idea to get a feedback on various things.
Okay, so if I understand, staff will create maybe 3 different types of surveys because we want to understand what the kind of programs the community wants, the reservation process, and then maybe
Pricing,
pricing.
yep. Program, reservation, pricing.
Well, right now, all of our prices really only have to do with rentals. So I might throw in the pricing with the rental type survey,
Or with reservation.
reservations, yeah.
Yeah.
Then what I can do is I can bring back that data as an, I can bring that back on a non-agenda item and give you an update on that. Then that could maybe inspire you to create a future agenda item if you want to talk about it and have discussion and maybe make changes.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so,
Looks like we have a comment from the public, seems like. Somebody raised their
public
hand.
is yawning.
Sarah, do you have a comment?
I do. Thank you. Um, my name is Sarah Ragsdale, and I work for the district. along with Laura and Catherine and Denise. And I just, when I'm hearing the comments about the pricing, I think, if we have a survey that asks people, how much do you want to pay? It may not be realistic. And like Laura explained, there's a theory of how much you have to, or what's typical, what you recover. And so I think before this committee or commission would want to talk about pricing, you would need to you would want to get some information from staff about what it costs to do these programs, because there has to be some relationship between what people say they want to pay and what it really costs to put on these programs. And so, I'm hoping the pricing could, maybe be one of the last things that you survey about, because you might want to say, well, I want to see what the market will bear, but it might be that the district can't afford to give it out at what the market will bear from them. And as Laura said, if you look at our pricing compared to surrounding jurisdictions, you'll see that we're pretty cheap. So I would just hope that the commission would allow staff to provide you some information about the cost to put on these programs, and then to apply the subsidy theory that Laura had talked about. And then from there, we can go to figure out what we should be charging for things. That's my comment. Thank you.
If I may, Sarah, I think I'll echo what you just said. I don't think pricing per se is an issue. I think pricing is very reasonable, because I'm very familiar with the different cost structures that, we charge right now. I think they're generally speaking very reasonable. I'd be surprised that if we don't specifically ask that question, that anybody would bring that up as a pain point. People may have other pain points, as in procedural or something else, which I think we should capture, but I don't think we should solicit specifically, what would you like to pay? Because $0 will very quickly come back, because some people will have unrealistic expectation that they've already paid taxes and they should be free.
Yes.
So, and we shouldn't go, we shouldn't dig ourselves in that hole, basically.
Yeah, I'm also agree with Sarah. We should not survey about the pricing. Do I? I said I agree with Sarah. We should not add that pinpoint to the survey for the pricing, because all the people, like Omar said, they're gonna say we pay taxes. We would not want to pay. It will create more conflicts.
Okay, then we can keep the reservation survey back to processes and policy and experiences.
Yeah, it's more about experiences and what they would like to see in future, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Sarah, for great comment.
Well, thank you very much.
Hey, Sarah, are you sitting at the beach? Or just the
I
background?
wish I was, but I'm not. Not tonight.
All right, thank you for all the inputs, and we'll review our goals and objectives at our next meeting. And so now moving to item 7, any comments by commissioners on non-agenda items?
I have one comment on the non-agenda, that is, can we have a signboard in the parks about prohibiting smoking? Then not smoking, not allowed.
Actually, that's a good thing. I have seen a lot of people smoking in the Cordis Park.
You saw Cordis, I saw in Central
Yeah.
Park. Well, left side kids playing, right side kids playing, and I was
Yeah.
shocked.
Even my daughter, she came to me, hey, that guy is smoking. Can you go talk to him?
And it's a very big issue. Vaping also is a big issue. I have seen in basketball court too. So I think you probably saw, I brought it to board attention a month and a half ago.
Yeah.
there is already a California code, Laura, which happy to send you also as well, which can be used since it's already used by Tracy as well.
Okay.
To have those signed. And
I'll email you an update because after I think you brought it to the board's address in October. There may have been some action.
yeah,
done at
that will be
If
helpful
there-
to
if-
know.
If there's been any action on that one, I will email it to you. so
Yeah,
you-
all the parks have that sign,
Okay.
at least.
And I think smoking is prohibited in public places anyway, so, yeah.
But yeah, if you look at the basketball courts.
Yeah.
Or sign, there nothing says about prohibiting smoking.
Okay.
It does say about the drinking, but not about smoking. So you need a code, but there is a California code which Tracy is using. And I brought to broad attention that which Mountain House can also use it until Mountain House CSD create a new ordinance which has much bigger power of prohibiting it.
Staff, do you have any additional comments, additional items?
Has the commission made any more comments?
Or Commission all good, any comments, non-agenda item comments?
Okay, I just have one update for you. Our holiday event, Light Up Main Street and Tree Lighting will be held on Friday, December 1st, right here on Main Street. We have vendors, food and retail vendors that will be out on the street selling between 5 and 8. We'll have entertainment on our Main Street stage, which will be right here at the intersection of Providence and Main. Santa will be heading down Main Street to the tree lighting at 6:30, and at 6:45 is the tree lighting itself down at the tree, just past the roundabout. And then residents are welcome to come back to Main Street and enjoy some music, more food, shopping until 8 o'clock. So we'd like to invite you all to come to attend that as well. We'll have a CSD booth. You can stop by there. It's a great opportunity to meet your residents that you're serving. If you'd like to help out in any way. We have a lot of volunteers though, a lot of high schoolers that will be coming. So we expect a good crowd. Then on Saturday, December 2nd, we have our Breakfast with Santa here in Town Hall, and tickets are selling fast. So we expect that to sell out. So these are just examples of the community events that we offer, bringing them together. It's a great way to kick off the holidays and have a good spirit. And all of the poles and lights and some fun things will be lit up, and it'll be great for our community. So we'd like to invite you. And that's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there gonna be any vegetarian food or only non-veg?
Any what?
Any veggie options? Because I'm a vegetarian.
Oh. I'm sure there will be, yes.
Thank you.
Item 8, Park and Facilities Report.
And there's nothing to report at this time.
In that case, can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
A motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Commissioner Seer moves to adjourn, and Commissioner Maninder seconds. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
I.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned until December 20th, 23. Thank you, everybody.
Night.
Night, Sarah.